Hey warriors, welcome back to the channel. When someone tries to humiliate you, remember this: silence is not weakness, it's a weapon. Do not rush to defend yourself. Do not explain. Do not justify. Because the moment you react, you've already surrendered the frame. You've revealed what controls you. And once someone knows how to pull a reaction out of you, they own your emotions. Machiavelli understood a truth most people still deny. The world does not respect emotion, it studies it. Every time you argue to prove your worth, every time you rise in anger, you're teaching others how to manipulate you. People don't insult you because they despise you. They insult you to measure you, to test the strength of your identity. They want to see if your self-image is fragile enough to shatter under a few words. That's why the strongest men in history never won arguments. They mastered silence. They let others expose their own weakness through overexposure. Because the one who reacts reveals, and the one who stays calm controls. An insult isn't just an attack. It's an invitation. It asks, do you know who you are? Or do you need me to remind you? And the moment you answer emotionally, you've already lost your power. So the next time someone tries to provoke you, let them speak. Let their noise echo inside their own insecurity. Because only unstable men need to prove they're unshaken. The truly strong don't flinch. They simply watch. Machiavelli once said, "He who controls others may be powerful, but he who has mastered himself is mightier still." Now, drop this affirmation in the comments: my silence is my power. 1. The psychology behind insults. Every insult carries a hidden intention. It's never about the words. It's about control. People use insults like instruments, pressing your mind to see what makes it twitch. They mock, they criticize, they provoke, not to express hate, but to extract data. They want to learn your emotional temperature. They want to know your breaking point. Insults are psychological tests disguised as conversation. They reveal far more about the speaker than the target. But most never realize this. They take the bait, react emotionally, and hand over their weaknesses for free. Machiavelli warned rulers never to be easily read, because predictability is death to power. When you react, you give your enemies a manual to your mind, and once they know your triggers, they control you forever. But when you stay silent, their experiment fails. Your composure becomes a mirror, one that reflects their instability. Your calmness burns louder than any comeback. They begin to wonder, what kind of man doesn't react to ridicule? And that question haunts them. Machiavelli once wrote, "Men are so simple, and so much creatures of circumstance, that the deceiver will always find someone willing to be deceived." He meant this emotion makes you predictable, and predictability makes you powerless. Control your reactions, and you become unreadable, unmanipulable. Drop this affirmation: I see through the noise. 2. The Machiavellian principle. Control the frame. Power is not always about domination. It's about defining the frame. The frame is the invisible boundary where meaning is decided. Most people lose battles not because they are weak, but because they step into someone else's frame of perception. When someone insults you, they're trying to drag you into a frame built on chaos and emotion. The moment you react, you've entered their arena. You've agreed to play their game. But Machiavelli knew that perception is stronger than truth, because humans live by appearances, not reality. So the wise don't fight within someone else's perception. They reshape it from the outside. When you stay calm, the frame flips. Your stillness exposes their instability. They look desperate, you look composed. Suddenly, the audience sees who truly holds the power. Composure is not weakness, it's strategy. Each moment you choose silence over argument, you rise in hierarchy. You become the observer, not the participant, and the observer always wins, Machiavelli once said, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally." He understood that emotional restraint isn't passivity. It's precision. Control the frame, and you control the meaning. Control the meaning, and you control minds. Drop this affirmation, I control the frame. 3. The silent authority. Silence is not the absence of power. It is its purest form. The man who can remain still while others scream holds real authority. People insult to provoke movement, to make you flinch. But when you don't move, their mind turns inward. Doubt creeps in. Confusion follows. And that confusion turns into respect. Humans instinctively fear what they cannot read. The loud are transparent. The silent are mysterious. Machiavelli once said, "The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must be both. Silence is both. The fox that conceals thought, and the lion that radiates quiet danger. When you say nothing, people imagine everything. They project fear, envy, admiration, all of it born in their mind. That is the power of silence. True leaders speak rarely, and when they do, the world listens. Because silence builds gravity. Stillness becomes presence, and presence becomes command. Drop this affirmation, my silence commands respect. 4. Self-awareness creates immunity. Every insult that wounds you is proof of an unhealed wound inside. People can only hurt you with what you haven't accepted. Machiavelli taught that strength is born not from arrogance, but understanding, especially self-understanding. When someone mocks you, don't ask, "Why did they say that?" Ask, "Why did it affect me?" That question turns pain into clarity. Because when you take ownership of your flaws, no one can use them against you. Criticism loses its power the moment you stop needing validation. The world cannot insult what you've already accepted. Self-awareness turns every insult into information, every attack into education. Machiavelli wrote, "It is not titles that honor men, but men who honor titles." Meaning power begins inside. When your worth is self-defined, no external opinion can diminish it. The moment you understand yourself completely, you become emotionally immune. You stop reacting. You start observing, and that shift, from reaction to reflection, is the birth of real strength. Drop this affirmation, I am untouchable. 5. Learn from what they reveal. Every insult is a confession disguised as aggression. A man filled with envy calls others arrogant. A man drowning in insecurity calls others fake. People project what they cannot face within themselves. Machiavelli observed that the weak disguise resentment as morality and jealousy as concern. So when someone insults you, they're revealing their wounds, not yours. Instead of reacting, listen like a strategist. Every word they throw at you is data, information about how they think, what they fear, what threatens them. Insults are X-rays of the human psyche. The wise never take insults personally. They take notes. They see the insecurity behind every jab, the desperation behind every mockery, and they use that knowledge to navigate the world with surgical precision. Machiavelli once said, "The first method of estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him." Likewise, the way people speak about others reveals who they are. Hostility is not a weapon, it's a symptom. Drop this affirmation, I learn from every insult. 6. The art of subtle replies. Sometimes silence alone isn't enough. There are moments where a calm, precise reply reclaims the frame completely. The key subtlety, when someone says, "You've changed," the weak defend. The strong smile and say, "That's what growth looks like." When someone sneers, "You think you're better," the wise answer, "No, I think differently." Short, final, calm. It ends the conversation without breaking composure. Subtle replies are not comebacks. They're controlled closures. They reveal mastery, not emotion, because the less energy you give, the more power your words carry. Machiavelli once said, "Never was anything great achieved without danger." And it takes courage to stay calm in the face of disrespect. But that calmness cuts deeper than any insult. Precision is the language of power, and the silence that follows a composed reply echoes longer than any argument. Drop this affirmation: my calmness ends conflicts. 7. The long game of composure power doesn't belong to the fastest. It belongs to the most patient. Machiavelli understood that dominance is built through endurance, not reaction. Anyone can stay calm for a moment. But composure across time is what separates the disciplined from the impulsive. The world constantly tempts you to react, to prove, to fight, to defend. But every reaction costs you leverage, while every moment of restraint adds to your quiet credibility. Time destroys the reactive and elevates the composed, because chaos burns itself out, but calmness compounds. Each time you stay still, you build a reputation of control, and reputation becomes identity. Soon, your silence is known before you even enter the room. Leaders are not defined by what they say, but by what they refuse to react to. Storms pass. The mountain remains. Drop this affirmation: my calm outlasts chaos. 8. The final power shift eventually. Your composure becomes so complete that insults no longer even register. They don't sting. They don't echo. They simply dissolve. That's when the power dynamic flips. People who once provoked you begin to hesitate before speaking. They feel your stillness before you even speak. Your unreadability becomes your armor. In a world addicted to reaction, unreadability is terrifying. Machiavelli wrote, "People fear what they cannot predict and respect what they cannot understand." That's why mystery commands more power than dominance. You've become untouchable, not because you fight harder, but because nothing moves you. Your calmness makes others aware of their chaos. Your silence exposes their noise. Your presence becomes command. You are no longer the one reacting. You are the one defining reactions. You have become the still point in a storm. Machiavelli said, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." But he wasn't speaking of aggression. He was speaking of presence. Fear, in his philosophy, meant respect born from self-control. That is the quiet, unshakable dominance of a mind in full command. Drop this affirmation: I do not flinch. Final words: real strength doesn't shout. It doesn't seek validation. It doesn't prove. It simply doesn't flinch. Every insult, every test, every attempt to provoke you is a mirror. Let the world speak. Let chaos unfold, and let your silence reveal what no argument ever could: that mastery over yourself is mastery over everything.